Welcome to Sharika Talks, Unraveling the Truth, a journalist's quest. Subscribe for the truth.
Chapter 34, The Bridge Beneath the Rain. It had begun to drizzle in the streets of Palakkad, the soft, rhythmic whisper of the northeast monsoon. The ancient rains that had blessed the region for millennia still came, though global warming and the deforestation of the Western Ghats had begun to disturb their timeless rhythm. Yet in 2019, the season had arrived almost on schedule. As the Maruti Ignis crossed the Nila River, a flash of lightning illuminated the century-old aqueduct bridge, painting the sky in stark, unrecognizable patterns. The structure, built by British engineers in the 18th century, consisted of 12 massive pillars rising from the riverbed. Built in the old arched masonry architecture, the aqueduct bridge still held strong. It supported 2 ducts carrying irrigation water from the Malampucha Dam. One duct, wide and covered, formed a tunnel sturdy enough for even trucks to pass across the 150-meter stretch. This bridge was deeply personal to Sachin. He had walked across it countless times as a boy, hand in hand with Deepa and Sukanya on their way to school. It was out of that same nostalgia that he had built his home within walking distance of it. Sukanya's words from moments ago still echoed in his ears, each one a precise, cutting blow. This is a very important day in her life. Do you want to ruin it by bursting into tears in front of her? I'm sure she still considers you her best friend. If you do this to her today, as a woman, I can assure you it is the worst thing you could possibly do to her. That's not love. It's cruelty. So if you still love her, stop crying. Her words burned in his mind. He remained silent as they arrived at the auditorium. Deepa had invited only a few close friends and relatives. Though it was a small function, Sachin's instructions had been followed to the letter. The decorations were elegant. The entire car park, entrance, and grounds were adorned with arrangements of live, blossoming dark blue roses, their natural, refreshing fragrance perfuming the air. Sukanya, though licensed just a year ago, still struggled to park. After 2 failed attempts, Reshmi took over and parked neatly. Sachin, still lost in a trance, finally took a deep breath and forced a smile onto his face. As natural a smile as he could muster. As they entered, Deepa and Rakesh were on the stage, posing for photos. She wore a sky blue gown with an intricately embroidered butterfly on the back. Rakesh was in a sharp suit. Employees from Deep Events greeted Sukanya and Reshmi, but since the lower-level staff didn't know who Sachin really was, they ignored him. The moment Deepa saw the trio, she stopped posing, stepped down from the stage, and walked straight toward them. "You're late. I thought you would be here when I arrived," she said, playfully punching him on the nose. "Oh, sorry. Got caught up in work," Sachin replied, fighting to hide the crushing weight in his chest. "Oh, come, come," Deepa said, grabbing both his and Sukanya's arms and dragging them onto the stage. Flashes of cameras exploded around them. Sachin smiled for the lens, but his mind kept whispering numbers to stay sane. Total bank loans, $1.2 billion. Assets, $1.3 billion. Active contributors to income, 100,000. Philanthropic donations through Derek averaging 100 million per year. He tried to lose himself in business calculations, but his heart pounded a single devastating rhythm. Deepa is getting engaged. After the photo session, he stood in a corner, watching her. Occasionally, he would slip away to the bathroom and burst into tears. By 7:30 p.m., the event was winding down. When it was time to leave, neither Reshmi nor Sukanya could find him. He was gone. Reshmi started to panic, her calls to his phone ringing unanswered. Sukanya, who knew Sachin better than anyone, reassured her. "He'll be fine. He probably just walked home. Let him be. Let's leave him alone for tonight." Sachin had indeed walked out into the thundering storm the moment Deepa went to have her meal. He had no idea where he was going. He was just sobbing, walking blindly through the rain. He found the nearest liquor shop, and bought 2 bottles of Jawan, the cheapest local rum available in Kerala. It had been years since he had a drink. He wasn't able to find the time for it. He began drinking straight from the neck as he walked into the downpour. By 9 p.m., he had reached the British Aqueduct Bridge. Half of the first bottle was gone. 6 small, roofless watchtowers, like bastions, 3 on each side, one near the road and the other on the walkway, stood parallel to the bridge's largest pillars. He climbed into the first one near the road. He sat there, legs dangling into the void over the churning river below, rain soaking him to the bone. The river roared, black and alive with reflections of lightning. He sobbed endlessly, his mind a torrent of flashing images. The suffering of his youth, the conflicts between his parents and their separation, the toiling months with his mother, followed by the hatred he felt after her betrayal. Then his teenage years with his father, the struggles they endured, then the day his father had to flee. The lonely days, the only relief, the only love, came from Deepa's eyes. She had supported him, even given him food on some days. For all those struggling years, he had lied to himself that Deepa had said no to his proposal because her parents wouldn't approve of his poverty. So he worked. He worked himself to the point of mental and physical breakdown, accumulating wealth with a relentless, desperate energy. The trauma he'd seen Rashmi and Aishwarya endure had fueled his elegant idea for Derek C., which became a huge success. He knew luck had played a part. He also knew all the sorrows and toils made him who he was. If his mother hadn't betrayed him, if she hadn't taken her own life because of him, he wouldn't be who he was. But the one thing that kept him moving was Deepa. He finished the first bottle and stared at it. He thought of throwing it into the river and jumping down with it, but stopped himself. He didn't want to pollute this river, his river. He knew he couldn't jump. If something happened to him, Deepa couldn't bear it, and neither could the hundreds of thousands of kids who relied on him, who were beginning to have hope and dreams in life, only because of his empire. And in its current state, without him, he knew it would all collapse one by one. All those children he had promised a chance in life would again go into the streets. Climbing down from the bastion and sitting at its floor, leaning on the parapet, he took out his phone. 1 missed call. Rashmi? 5 missed calls. He ignored them, put on some sad melody, and sobbed even more. By 5 a.m., half of the second bottle was finished, but his mind was clinging to a desperate hope. A part of him knew Deepa would never be his, but as he always did, he shoved that part into a dark corner of his mind. He began repeating a mantra to himself, as he had done countless times before. Deepa loves me. She's just testing me. She wants me to be better. She is mine. This engagement is just another test. If I can be better, if I can sort out my affairs and find a way to retire before her wedding day, she will marry me. I have 3 months. I can do it. She loves me. A part of him knew he came here to disappear on the day of Deepa's marriage. And for that, he had to work and plan clearly for the coming 3 months and set instructions and plans for the Sixers and Chugru to continue Deep Enterprises without him. But he ignored that part of his brain and focused instead on the belief that by Deepa's marriage day, she would marry him if he made Deep Enterprises self-sustaining. He repeated it over and over until, finally, he dozed off. Exhaustion pulled him into sleep, his head resting against the cold stone of the bastion as the rain poured on. At 6:30 a.m., Sukanya and Rashmi arrived at Sachin's house. When they found he wasn't there, Rashmi started calling his phone again, but there was no answer. I know where he'll be, Sukanya said confidently and instructed Rashmi to get in the car. She drove straight to the bridge. There he was, asleep on the cold stone of the bastion, completely soaked from the rain. 2 Jawan bottles lay beside him, one empty, one half full. Sachu? Sukanya whispered, gently shaking his shoulder. He stirred, eyes fluttering open to the sunrise. The first light broke through the clouds, turning the rain into a curtain of gold. And in that fragile, fleeting glow, Sachin looked. Even in his half consciousness, his mind was repeating the same thing again and again, which he was sure would fuel his work as soon as his hangover was gone. As he got in the car with the help of Sukanya and Reshmi, he looked at the rising sun one more time before falling again into deep slumber. End of chapter 34.
Thank you for watching Unraveling the Truth, A Journalist's Quest. Subscribe to stay updated on Sharika's journey. Stay tuned for the next part.
Disclaimer. Unraveling the Truth, A Journalist's Quest is a work of fiction. The experiences, ideas, and theories presented by the characters, including the books they write, are purely fictional and do not reflect real-world events, beliefs, or ideologies. While some incidents and characters may be inspired by real-world scenarios, they are entirely fictionalized for storytelling purposes. The author does not endorse or share the viewpoints expressed by any character in this novel. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or real events is purely coincidental. Viewer discretion is advised.